You're listening to Dilaw na Kandila, English Filipino Horror Stories. Hello everyone, I'm Eric, but everybody calls me Sir Sig, a Filipino writer and horror story host, and this is Dilaw na Kandila. On this channel, I share English Filipino horror stories that I personally write, inspired by our culture, our beliefs, and the many mysterious stories that exist in the Philippines. I grew up hearing stories about ghosts, spirits, diwata, encanto, and other creatures from our folklore, and this channel is my way of sharing those stories with all of you. Some of the stories you'll hear here are pure horror fiction that I wrote, but many of them are also real-life experiences sent by my followers directly to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read their stories, write them into narrative form, and share them here so more people can hear about these strange and terrifying experiences. I also want to be honest with you. My English is not very good, so I use Edge Translator and AI voice to help me tell my stories in English. I hope you don't mind the AI voice, but I promise you that every story on this channel is written with effort, passion, and the goal of entertaining your mind. And maybe even giving your soul a little chill. So if you enjoy horror stories, mysteries, and tales inspired by Filipino culture and folklore, you're in the right place. Turn down the lights, relax, and listen carefully.
The famous spiritual warrior from the mountains of Cordillera. The story of Carlo Mananguit. The year was 1602. In Iloilo, deep in the heart of the Visayas, where the sea seemed endless and the night wind carried the scent of salt and freshly cooked fish. Back then, the town was thriving. It was an important port. Ships arrived from Manila, from China, from Spain, from India, and from distant lands beyond the horizon. In the mornings, the marketplace was alive with laughter and noise. Merchants haggled loudly over prices. Children raced each other along the docks. Men and women carried sacks of rice, salt, and cloth through the crowded streets. The church bells rang constantly, calling people to prayer. And at first glance, everything seemed peaceful, but there was always something lingering in the shadows. Even in the middle of celebration, there were whispers. Shadows move in the dark. They say voices can be heard along the shore at night, chanting in Latin, even though no priest is there. Ghosts walk the streets after midnight. Stories of the supernatural never disappeared. During the day, people laughed them off. But at night, they were no longer funny. Until one night came that changed everything. The sea of Iloilo was calm. There was no storm. Yet a large ship slowly drifted into the harbor. It was a trading vessel. No flag, no lights, completely silent. When the fishermen approached it, they immediately noticed a strange smell. A scent like iron, like rust, the smell of blood. When they peered inside the ship, they froze in horror. It was filled with corpses, not ordinary dead bodies. Their skin was dried out, shriveled like leather left under the sun. There was no blood, no organs. Their eyes were wide open, staring into nothing. One fisherman whispered, "This is not the work of men." And from that moment on, a rumor spread across the town. A dark omen has arrived. The ship was abandoned, but something had already come ashore from it. Something that moved slowly. Something no one noticed. A foreigner, pale, tall, his eyes glowing red, his teeth long and sharp. A monster hiding inside the body of a man. He made his lair in an old Spanish fortress near the shore, and there he began to grow stronger. First, the bodies of dead pirates were found. Then soldiers guarding the coastline began disappearing. Some were discovered days later, their bodies dry, empty, not a single drop of blood left. Others were never found at all. From that night onward, people vanished every evening. Children, women, even soldiers. Days later, they would sometimes be discovered hanging from trees, dried and hollow, like discarded husks. And sometimes, the missing would appear again, especially late at night. Families claimed they saw their loved ones outside their windows. A husband, a brother, a father, but something was wrong. Their eyes were red, their skin pale, and before anyone could approach, they would vanish into the darkness like mist. The people of Iloilo were terrified. They didn't know where to seek help. The city government, the church, or someone else, someone known in Visayan whispers. A creature who ruled the night, Datu Lubay, but he was not human. He was known as the king of the monsters of Iloilo, the leader of the Aswang, Manananggal, Wakwak, Amalanhig, and other creatures of the dark. He was feared not only because he was a monster, but because he was a monster with principles. He only devoured the corrupt, the abusive, those who stole from the poor. To the people, he was still a monster, but he was also something else, a necessary evil. Without him, the town might have drowned in wickedness long ago. When Datu Lubay learned that a foreign monster had begun terrorizing the city, he grew furious. "The night of this city belongs to me," he whispered, "and no outsider will ruin it." From that moment on, the nights of Iloilo became even more chaotic. But those two monsters were not the only ones who would cross paths in that town. Another stranger had arrived in Iloilo from the mountains of Cordillera in Luzon. His name was Carlo Mananguit, a warrior. He carried sacred anti-anting charms and a powerful Campilon sword. He was skilled in arnis and many other weapons. He had fought countless battles, especially against creatures of darkness. But he had not come to Iloilo to join the conflict. His purpose was simple. He came to have his weapon repaired by a blacksmith famous throughout the Visayas. That was all. But during the nights he stayed in the town, he began seeing the bodies, and something about them disturbed him. This was different from the monsters he knew. In Luzon, bodies were torn apart, devoured, mangled, but these corpses were simply dry, empty, drained of blood. One night, Carlo entered tavern. He drank quietly, then spoke to the townsfolk. "My friends," he said, "whatever is happening in this city, it's not the work of the monsters we are used to. This is something different." One man asked, "If it's not an Aswang, then what is it?" Carlo smiled slightly, trying to ease the tension. "I'm not certain yet," he replied, "but I know one thing. This monster is intelligent. And it is not alone. Some people laughed, but deep inside, Carlo felt something terrible. This wasn't just a monster problem, it was something far worse. And soon, the nights of nightmare truly began. Churches that once echoed with prayers became altars of blood. Crosses were turned upside down and hung with corpses. Priests disappeared one by one. Meanwhile, Datu Lubay gathered his army. Wakwak, Manananggal, Sigbin, Amalanhig rising from their graves. He would not allow a foreign creature to steal his kingdom. But the people of Iloilo could only pray harder, because whoever won this war between monsters, humans would still be the ones eaten. The government was silent. The church was powerless. To the people, there was no salvation. And as the chaos grew worse, Carlo realized something. This was not a battle between humans and monsters. This was a war between two kings of the night. And somehow, he stood between them. The foreign monster grew stronger. At first, he stayed near the coast. But within weeks, he occupied Spanish buildings. Churches became his nests. Crosses were reversed and filled with corpses. Prayers were replaced by screams and the flutter of bats. And his ambition grew. Every human in this city will become my beast, he whispered from the fortress tower. They will have no name, no God, only hunger and fear. Each night, more people vanished. Each morning, more lifeless bodies were discovered. Hope in Iloilo grew smaller and smaller. But the king of the Aswang was also preparing. From his stronghold in the mountains of Gamaras, Datu Lubay summoned his followers. Wakwak, whose wings cut through the wind. Tik juntos. Manananggal, who tore organs from a dark. Amalanhig, walking corpses that howled in the night. Sigbin and Balbal. His command was simple. Do not eat a single human until the foreign creatures are wiped out. For the first time, human fear of the Aswang faded, because something worse had arrived. It was then that Carlo Mananguit began to intervene. One night, while walking along the shore, he heard faint crying from a ruined hut. Inside, he found an old man trembling. The fisherman had rescued him. He was the only survivor from the ship. Through tears, the old man spoke. I was the cook on that ship, he said. 6 nights of hell happened before we reached this place. We didn't know that one of our cargo was a monster. They called him a dragon. And on the final morning, when he killed our captain, I heard the captain scream his name. Dracula. Carlo asked quietly, how did you survive? The old man gave a bitter smile. I hid in human waste under the ship's latrine. While everyone died above me, I breathed in filth to stay alive. Carlo fell silent. If this creature could slaughter an entire ship of soldiers and pirates, what chance did a defenseless town have? That night, alone in his room, Carlo held his anti-nanting charm and closed his eyes. A vision came. He saw Dracula sitting upon a throne of bones, and Datu Lubay standing in a sea of blood. Between them, humans knelt as food. A voice whispered from the charm, no one will win. Everyone will die. Carlo opened his eyes slowly. This was a war of hunger, a war of pride, and humans would suffer. But Carlo discovered something important. Both kings shared the same weakness: pride, hunger. Neither would kneel to the other. That was when Carlo formed his plan. He called it the Night of Imprisonment. He did not need to defeat them. He only needed to trap them together. He carved ancient symbols into the ground beneath an old cathedral. Symbols taught to him by elders of the Cordillera, mixed with blood, ash, oil, sulfur. "This is where you will meet," he whispered. And when the two kings fought, their pride would destroy them. Then the night came. Midnight. The cathedral bells suddenly rang, though no priest was inside. The sound echoed like metal crying through the city, and the war of the night began. Dracula's army arrived first. Vampires, many of them former citizens of Iloilo, floating through the air like torn skin, their eyes glowing red. Then came Datu Lubay's forces, Wakwak falling from the sky, Manananggal striking from darkness, Amalanhig dragging chains across the ground, Sigbin starving after long hunger. The air itself trembled. Humans hid beneath houses, boats, caves. All they could hear were screams, prayers, and chaos. From the cathedral ceiling, Carlo watched silently. And for the first time, the two kings of the night faced each other. Dracula transformed, fangs extended, claws sharp enough to slice stone. Datu Lubay revealed his monstrous form, half man, half beast, body like burning coal. When they clashed, the city shook, glass shattered, the ground cracked. Their armies collided, Aswang against vampires. The nightmare had begun. Carlo waited, and when both kings stepped into the center of the sigil, he leapt down. He raised his campylon. The blade blazed with the light of his anteing. With one strike, he drove the sword into the ground. The carvings ignited. Their blood flowed into the symbols. The earth roared. Chains of fire erupted from beneath the cathedral. Chains of light and blood wrapped around the two monsters. Dracula screamed. Datu Lubay bit into his throat, but neither realized they were already being dragged down. Carlo shouted, "No one will rule this night except the light of mankind." The ground split open. Flames swallowed both kings. Dracula's army collapsed, freed from the curse, turning human again. Datu Lubay's monsters stared in shock until Carlo fired his pistol. They fled into the darkness. Soon, nothing remained but ash. Silence. Carlo buried his campylon in the stone. "Guard this place," he whispered. Then he sat down exhausted. I can't believe the plan actually worked. Now I suddenly feel like drinking." And he simply stood up and walked back to his rented room. At dawn, Iloilo was quiet. The army of the night was gone. Dracula was gone. Datu Lubay was gone. Only ashes remained and the ruins of the cathedral. Years passed. The city was rebuilt. Markets returned. Festivals returned. Prayers returned. But no one ever truly knew the name of the warrior who ended the night of terror. He became a legend, an old story whispered by elders. A warrior came from the north and fought two kings of monsters. But the elders say something else. Deep beneath the earth of Iloilo, Dracula and Datu Lubay are not truly dead. They remain chained below, forever snarling, forever biting at each other, forever hungry. And even today, the locals say, beneath Iloilo, two monsters still wait to see which one will awaken first. And if you hear cathedral bells ringing at an unnatural hour of the night, it may not be the wind. It may be the echo of the war between the two kings of the night. And that is where the story ends.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing Filipino tales, folklore, and true stories from my culture. The Philippines is a land filled with mystery, old beliefs, and stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. Through this channel, I hope I can share a small part of those stories with all of you. If this story gave you chills, or reminded you of something strange that happened in your own life, then maybe the world is more mysterious than we think. If you enjoy Filipino horror stories, folklore, and real paranormal experiences, and you don't mind that these stories are narrated using an AI voice, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. And if you have your own scary experience, something you can't explain, something that still haunts you until today, you can send your story to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read your messages, and some of them may become the next story featured here on this channel. Remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are not the ones we imagine. Sometimes they are the ones that really happened. This is Sir Sig, and thank you for listening to Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. Until the next story, keep the lights low and keep the candle burning.